So on the morning of February 2nd, 1685, King Charles II of England was preparing to shave when he suddenly cried out in pain, fell to the floor, and started having fits. 6 royal physicians rushed in and administered emergency aid. They drained 16 ounces of his blood. They applied heated cups to the skin, which now we know about cupping, but which form large round blisters in order to stimulate the system. Then they let 8 more ounces of blood. They induced vomiting to purify his stomach, gave him an enema to purify his bowels, and made him swallow a purgative to clean out his intestines. Not quite sure what that is. Then they force-fed him a syrup of blackthorn and rock salt. They shaved his hair and put blistering plasters on his scalp. The king regained consciousness. The treatment seemed to be working, so they kept at it. They gave him another enema. Then they applied hellebore root to the nostrils, more blistering plasters to the skin, and powdered cowslip flowers to the stomach. Special plasters were made from pigeon droppings, were attached to his feet, and after 12 hours of care, they put the ailing king to bed. So that's the first day. The next day, on Tuesday, he awoke, seemed improved, so the physicians congratulated themselves and continued the treatment. They let 10 more ounces of blood. They gave him a potion of black cherry, peony, lavender, crushed pearls, and sugar. And he slept the rest of the day and through the night. Then on Wednesday, he woke up, had another fit, and so they bled him again. They gave him Cenopods in spring water and white wine with nutmeg. They force-fed him a drink made from 40 drops of extract of human skull of a man who had met a violent death. They made him eat a gallstone of an East Indian goat. Then they proudly announced that King Charles was definitely on the road to recovery. Then on Thursday, the king was near death. He was blistered again, rebled, repurged, and given another enema. He was given Jesuits powder, which is a controversial malaria remedy, laced with opium and wine. And the doctors were mystified by the king's weakening condition. Friday, no improvement. He was bled until he was almost bloodless. They scoured the palace ground and created a last-ditch antidote containing extracts of all the herbs and animals of the kingdom. And then on Saturday, he died. It was rumored at the time that he had been poisoned, but they never found any proof. And modern doctors have 3 theories for what caused his death. One is that he was poisoned, not by an enemy, but by himself, because he tended to play with chemicals in an unventilated palace lab, where he had previously contracted, or where they thought he had contracted possibly acute mercury poisoning. The second theory was that he had suffered from kidney failure, and the third was that he had a brain hemorrhage. Now, would he have survived without that treatment? Probably not, but at least his death would not have been so excruciating. But you can see where we've come with regard to healthcare. And, at that time, if not even the king could get any better outcome, how could a poor peasant expect to be treated with a positive outcome? Okay, so the development of scientific medicine has greatly changed this previous fatalistic view. Professor Lawrence Henderson said that the period from 1910 to 12 is the great divide in the United States medical care, because it was the first time in human history a random patient with a random disease consulting a doctor chosen at random stood better than a 50-50 chance of benefiting from the encounter. That was just 1910, from 1910 to 1920. So we now think of hospitals as centers for technological advances. But before the industrial age, they were simply religious and charitable institutions for the poor and the hopelessly sick. They were places to comfort poor, dying citizens. Those who had money and were able to afford care, they died at home. There was no minor surgery, and surgeons were basically no more than butchers.